So I have an addiction to joggers. They're comfortable. Joggers are just comfortable. That's all I can think about them right now, is that they're comfortable. I mean, I'm wearing some right now. I love joggers. I basically live in them. I do live in them. I wear them every day and I sleep in them as well. And I wear them to work because I work from home. And I basically wear whatever I sleep in for the entire day. Unless I'm going out somewhere, which is very rare because I hate people. Growing up in my household, we called joggers fat pants, and that is fat with a PH, not with an F, because things were spelled differently back then. It was just the trend at the time to try and be cool and hip when you really weren't cool and hip. So yeah, I think they were also called balloon pants as well, but then I think you might be getting into Hammer MC territory, so yeah, I have like a million pairs of joggers now because I love joggers. I love them. They just are they're what I wear. I have been buying and wearing them for a very long time and I haven't thrown any pairs out. So all the pairs I have are really old and they're all kind of the same color. They're all black or a varying shade of gray because you can't really get exciting colored joggers here. And I've seen them online and I really wanted them. So I thought I'm gonna make myself some exciting colored joggers because I want to be cool, funky, fresh, but I also don't want to spend money. I decided to make some joggers from scratch without a pattern because I like to cry like a little baby when things don't come together how I envisioned them. When they do come together, I like to just stand back in awe of my own pure raw talent, which I totally must have. A little bit of, at least, somewhere. Anyway, this is the video of me making fat pants. Enjoy it. As always, here's my inspiration for these joggers. I found a cool pair of duo-toned pants that I wanted to recreate, but I wanted to make them cooler by adding a contrasting waistband and cuffs and pockets. You know your girl be wanting some nice slouchy pockets to fit her phone in. I also decided to make a top, even though I hated the final one anyway, but here's the rough inspo pic if you wanted to look at it. Moving right along, the first task was to find a pattern. Now, I ended up making my own pattern, as you see here, from an old pair of joggers I had. It was pretty simple. I just needed to follow the seams of the existing pair, and then I could use that together with the measurements I had taken of my waist, inseam and side seams to make a pattern that would fit. At this point, I also wanted to make sure that my phone would fit in the pockets, so I specifically drew the pattern around it just to be sure. Before I went ahead and cut out my fabric, I also showed up all the measurements of the pattern, added a 1cm seam allowance to all the sides because I'd forget otherwise, and I added a waistband and cuff pieces as well. I ended up adding a good 5cm to the width of each leg because I wanted the pants to be extra slouchy and comfortable. So basically the pattern I got from my original existing joggers was this, and the edits I ended up making to get a new usable pattern were this. So this was my fabric, a lilac purple and a strange cream colour. I wasn't sure if they would go together, but they were cheap, so you know I was going to make them. I went ahead and cut out all the pieces in the usual fashion, and then starting with the pocket construction first, I went ahead and pinned and sewed the pocket lining piece onto the front of the pants. I think this was the same method of pockets that was used in the cloud shorts I made for the rainbow top a few videos back, but it worked just as well for joggers. So after pinning and sewing, I trimmed a bit of the seam allowance, ironed it out kind of crappily, and then top stitched it down so that it looked neater. And then using the other pocket piece, I formed the pocket by lining it up and sewing it in place as well. Then, to make sure the pockets didn't move too much while I was trying to sew up the side seams of the pants, I tacked them in place by hand, and then I sewed up the side seams. Now to sew the crotches together, the easiest method was just to push one finished leg hole inside of the other so that the right sides of the crotch lined up, to pin them in place, and then to sew and overlock them down. After that, I moved on to the waistband, which was just a super simple tube at this point, and I sewed it onto the waist of the pants to form a channel, leaving a small gap at the back for the elastic. After this was filmed, I ended up actually unpicking the waistband because I didn't like how it looked, and I decided to add a wider elastic instead, and also to split the color of the waistband in half, but it's still the same process. When the elastic was in and secured, I closed the channel hole and sewed the elastic into the waistband with 2 lines to give it that joggers waistband look. And the process was repeated for the cuffs. So, your girl is under attack today. I have decided that it's finally come time to try and do something about the boobie area on this mannequin because I ain't got none boobs. The boobs are not here. Maybe one day they will be. At the moment they're not. I have to make this mannequin match me. It matches perfect around the hips, around the waist. It's just the boobie area which kind of throws me off, which means I can't drape directly onto this mannequin, and that was the whole point of buying it in the first place. So this dress form, underneath this material, it's just polystyrene. I thought, you know, if I get a craft knife, surely I would be able to just sculpt the boobies off. I may end up destroying this $700 dress form, but you know, I figure if I take too much boob off, I can just add more boob on, you know? So let's try it. The process for the top was pretty much the same as the pants. I used a singlet top I already had to trace around to get a rough pattern, and then I serged up the sides and added a 1 cm seam allowance. Because I also wanted the top to be 2 colours, I decided to add a split in the front and the back. Then I went ahead and cut out the fabric pieces. And I aligned the front pieces, sewed and overlocked. Before joining the front and back together, I also added some top stitching along the front and back seams just so that they looked nicer. To join the pieces, I started with the shoulder seams first, and then after overlocking around the neck, I simply finished the edge by folding it inward. Yes, I know this is an incredibly lazy way of finishing an edge, and it probably wasn't the method I should have used, but the fabric was too thick to bind the edges and I didn't really have anything else on hand that would work, so it had to do. When that was done, I joined the sides, right sides together, and then repeating the same steps around the neckline, I did the armholes. After that, the only thing left to do was to hem the bottom, and it was done. So yeah, I absolutely love these pants. They are actually my favorite pants, and I've been sleeping in them pretty much every night since I made them. The pockets are really deep and fantastic, and I couldn't have been more happy with how they turned out. Not so sold on the top, it really needed a facing or a lining or something, but the pants are absolutely magnifique. That's all for this video, guys. Bye!